When Clash of Clans was released in 2012, it quickly became the highest-grossing game in the US just 3 months after its launch. By 2013, it was the most profitable game in the world. Because of Clash of Clans' success, many copycat games emerged, one of which is our game for today, Heroes of Mavia. But what if I told you that Clash of Clans wasn't the original, and they copied ideas from another game? From their tutorials, which are nearly identical word for word and scene by scene, to their town hall and troops, there's a lot of overlap. Before we get into that, if you enjoy content about game history, balance changes, and other important updates focused on Heroes of Mavia, consider subscribing. Now, let's talk about the real history of base building tower defense games. Backyard Monsters was a Flash-based game created by David Scott, Paul Priest, and Will Harbin at the gaming studio KIXEYE. It was released on March 12, 2010, and was one of the earliest examples of an MMO and RTS game. It combined elements of tower defense and real-time strategy, allowing players to build bases, train monsters, and attack other players' bases to loot resources. The game had a unique style and key mechanics, like limited builders, long upgrade times, and passive resource generation, which later became common in other games of this type. Backyard Monsters grew quickly, with over 500,000 monthly active users in the first 3 months, and by July 2010, that number had soared to 4.5 million. The game's innovative design and approach to base building and strategy laid the foundation for the success of similar games that followed. If you compare the tutorials from both games, you can see the similarities. They start the same way: you place your first defense building, then a sudden enemy attack occurs, and after that, you retaliate against your enemy. By the end of the tutorial, you're required to upgrade your town hall to level 2. Yes, it's almost identical from start to finish. The concepts of both games are also similar. First, you build buildings. Second, you train troops. And third, you conquer enemies to gain loot, which you can use to upgrade buildings and strengthen your troops. Speaking of building defenses, players had to wait a long time for their constructions to complete in both games. This is where the use of premium resources comes in. In Backyard Monsters, this resource is called Shiny, which can be obtained by removing obstacles, completing missions, or purchasing with real money. Shiny is used to speed up building and training times, buy resources, and purchase additional workers. Even the Shiny cost requirements to buy extra workers are the same as the builder costs in Clash of Clans. Now let's talk about the troops in Backyard Monsters to see if they're really similar to those in Clash of Clans. Starting with the Pokey, it's a low HP, low damage unit that takes up little housing space. It's useless alone, but when they're in large numbers, they can break things. Yes, it sounds like the barbarians from Clash of Clans. DAVE, or Dave. If we compare Dave with P.E.K.K.A from Clash of Clans, we see similarities. They both have pseudonyms. Both have large housing space requirements and significant resources needed for training. They're slow but powerful. Finally, they're both mysterious and robotic. Octo-Ooze. This one targets defenses, has high health, moves slowly, and deals low damage. This troop is useful for distracting defenses so smaller troops with high DPS can advance. Yes, it's just like the giants in Clash of Clans. Bolt. Bolt targets resources, is very fast, has low HP, and deals high damage. When I mentioned resource targeting, you might have immediately thought of goblins from Clash of Clans. Ira. This troop targets walls, moves quickly, has low HP, and explodes to break through walls. Yes, you guessed it, it works just like wall breakers from Clash of Clans. If you're still not convinced that Clash of Clans copied from Backyard Monsters, here are some other miscellaneous comparisons. Backyard Monsters introduced the Inferno Yard in 2012, giving troops alternate versions or new abilities. Similarly, Clash of Clans added the Builder base in 2017. Backyard Monsters had a monster bunker where, if enemy troops approached within range, it would release monsters to defend your base. This is quite similar to the Clan Castle in Clash of Clans. Yard Planner. Backyard Monsters had a feature to easily edit your base, which is similar to the layout editor in Clash of Clans. A significant limitation of Backyard Monsters was its reliance on Adobe Flash and its availability only on platforms like Facebook and Congregate. This limited its accessibility to mobile gamers. Despite its early success, the game's inability to transition to mobile platforms hindered its growth. Back to Heroes of Mavia. Why did I bring up Backyard Monsters and Clash of Clans? What's the connection and purpose? Well, to answer that questions, the internet is evolving from Web 2 to Web 3, and just like Clash of Clans innovated from Backyard Monsters, Heroes of Mavia is doing the same by integrating Web 3 stuff and cryptocurrency into their game. There's a lot of content out there about Web 3 and how cryptocurrency will change the internet. You can check those out. But in this video, I just wanted to emphasize that copying isn't necessarily bad, especially when you introduce innovation. David Scott once said in an interview, "I will say that it is a good thing for all game design that it cannot be copyrighted. If it could, we'd all be playing Wolfenstein 3D. I just wish people innovated more." For me, calling other games copycats of Clash of Clans seems ironic and hypocritical, simply because many people don't know the origins and history. Just because there's not much on YouTube about the history of Clash of Clans doesn't mean it's the original. I think what Heroes of Mavia is doing is similar to what Clash of Clans did with Backyard Monsters. Who knows? Maybe Heroes of Mavia will do what Clash of Clans did and even surpass it, just like it did to Backyard Monsters. Only time will tell. Thanks for watching.